in the floorboard. We're at Keith McKEAN's Plant Paradise, I call it, or Bonsai by Design. And you can see those brown, it hasn't browned much, and boy, it's been subjected to a lot of rough hauling around and heat.
Okay, well, what's going on here is this has been inside Sam's
real cool,
and or Walmart under fluorescent fixtures.
Yeah.
And so it's adjusted itself to that light, and then even though you put it out in your planter, it did get some sun, and that's actually a sun scorch. And the sun,
I wondered about that, but
the sun this time of year in August, late August, is lower to the ground, a lot more intense, and this plant basically got burned by the sun, and it's not in trouble.
These are new. See these little things? These are new within a week.
Another thing too, it doesn't have that amount of time during late summer to form that chlorophyll and get these leaves darkened up, so it just didn't know how to keep itself from, you know, getting burned, and it's not in trouble. We'll trim those off and it'll be just fine.
I should have watched it all times a day. I was sure that no light could get to it, but
that's kind of the problem though, is you take a ficus that's been inside a store under fluorescent fixtures, and maybe just traveling to the store itself, it could have been spent a week in the truck and then getting to the store, and it's readjusting to that light, and then you bring it outside and it has to adjust to that light.
And then I bring it out here, take it back.
So that's what's going on here.
Great. It's a hardy.
Yeah.
I think I'll call it Mighty Joe Young, after the giant ape that's strong. But you can shape it, cut it down, give it a butch, whatever you want to do to it. Because I want to be in it for the long haul.
Is that something you want to do now?
If you're willing.
Okay.
Is there another chair where I could sit close? Sit close and... Now, Keith, you have a successful business selling native bonsai trees. Whereabouts have people got a hold of you? Where do you have native trees? Buying what exotic locations have they got online and bought trees from you?
Where are the states or places that people buy trees from?
Yeah, or countries.
Well, actually, we've sold to some in Puerto Rico, Alaska, and then all the other 50 states.
Wow.
Yeah, we've sent trees all over.
You have trouble keeping stock up because everybody's buying?
Well, we collect trees, native trees, in January through the end of March, and honestly, our best time selling trees are when the leaves drop on the trees and fall enters into the picture, and as you display it on the internet, they can see the full canopy and the branching of it, and they really, our sales are better during the fall and winter than they are in the spring and summer when they're in leaf or in bloom. So
what's the advantage of a native tree in terms of people worrying about, will it die? Well, you know,
well,
native trees are much different.
When we sell a tree, we list the zone that it's most adaptable to, or where it can live and survive. But the native trees here in Arkansas and Oklahoma, because we're right on the border, are pretty tough trees. They have to be because of the humidity and the heat, the intense heat. And honestly, the last 10 or 15 years, the winters have even been colder. So if we go out and collect a native tree, they're pretty tough. Yeah. And honestly, this time of year, the native trees that we collect are looking a lot sharper and a lot greener and a lot fresher, even in this intense heat, than say garden stock or something that's not from this general area. So I mean, the native trees are tough, you know. They can't go to every zone. Like some of the native trees here are not necessarily going to do well in Rhode Island or Michigan or whatever. But you kind of have to watch your zoning, and then some of them require special care, you know, winter care. Like we've sent some trees to Alaska. They might require like a cold house during the winter when they get that intense snow or intense ice. but generally speaking, the native trees that we collect are pretty tough.
Now, what is this? Is there a certain type of ficus that this might be?
This is called a ginseng ficus. You can tell by the big bulbous legs and.
How old might that plant be?
You know, it's hard to say because, I mean, it was probably raised in a greenhouse in Florida, possibly Hawaii or California. It could be in the 20-plus range.
Wow.
Ginsengs are a little bit harder to judge age-wise because even when they're small, they've got these big, intense tubers or legs. So it could be a little deceiving, but it's in the 20-plus range.
Whoa.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a tropical specialist, but I know tropicals. We really specialize in native trees and garden stock, mostly outside trees, but because that's what we enjoy. But we've certainly worked on tropicals and have tropicals and help people with tropicals also too.
So the natives can freeze, sit outside and freeze during the winter if nothing falls on them and breaks them. A lot of natives.
Well, they can. You know, just a simple cold house where you'd use like visqueen or plastic during January winter here would be helpful.
Like a garage?
Or even a garage or a shed. You know, they don't necessarily need to have a heated greenhouse. And what you have to remember is when you're working on these native trees and you're storing them for the winter, if they've had the root ball reduced, they're in a shallow pot, and those roots are more sensitive to freeze damage than if they were in a larger, deeper pot.
Ooh.
So really that's kind of where it's all about. Once you start reducing the root ball and get it in a bonsai pot, those roots are going to be a little bit more sensitive, and so therefore they're going to require a little bit more care.
Okay.
You know, I've had a lot of native stock out here where the root balls have been completely frozen for 4 or 5 days in a row until we get a thaw, and they've survived perfectly fine. But every once in a while you can lose one like that too. And if you've worked on a bonsai for 4, 5, 6 years, 10 years, you don't want to take the risk of allowing that to happen. So, and we have an unheated greenhouse here where we keep a lot of stock. And this year, because we have so many native trees that we've collected and are going to sell, we're just going to put up some cold rooms or cold storage buildings.
Okay.
You know, with simply plastic. You know.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what we're going to do here is just do a little bit of basic trimming, just to kind of shape it up a little bit.
Okay.
There are a few dead limbs in here that we're going to trim back, and it may not look great the first time around, but we're going to try to develop just a little bit of a shape here, just a little more open canopy. We've got long runners coming up here, which is not really, I mean, it's okay, it's just offset the balance of the tree. Another thing with trees is you try to establish a front and back. Sometimes with the ginseng ficus, it's under debate, you know, and it's also, and the person that's looking at it, it's also could be in their personal opinion. You know, my wife has opinions on front and back of trees that are totally different than mine.
Now, what's the white stuff at the base of the root or on the other side?
This right here?
No, keep going around. Right there. See all that white?
That's actually
down low?
Right here.
Yeah.
This is water logging or salt.
Oh,
or
okay.
Minerals that have been.
It
in the
doesn't
water.
hurt it. Doesn't hurt it.
Well, it doesn't. It's not great for it. You can brush it off with a toothbrush and water. It has a tendency to discolor the bark, so it's something you kind of want to stay after.
Yeah, that's what I wondered about that. What I should do.
But anyway, we're going to cut off a few of these long runners here and try to shape it up a little bit. And with the ficus, as a lot of other trees that have leaves on them, we want to kind of try to trim either above a leaf nodule. That way you get more production out of it. So we're going to cut above the leaf here. And most ficuses will, as you can see here, will emit a milky substance, which is a healing substance. That's actually a natural healing defense that they have.
Oh,
and
so you
that's
don't
what
wipe that
see
off
there.
or anything?
Well, what I do, while I'm trimming it, I let that sit, and it'll form, it'll get a little bit bigger, and it'll start to harden up just a little bit. And then once I'm done with it, I basically wash it off with water
Okay.
and like a spray capsule like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And it's going to heal on its own anyway.
What about if I'm watering with a spray hose all my plants and I spray water over the beautiful green ginkgo leaves? It doesn't hurt them?
Well,
Or is it better not to?
well, you can do that early in the morning or late in the evening. I try to discourage that in the middle of the day when the sun's out and hot, because there could be, there could be some burning there with the water on the leaf.
I think
on
that's
the
what I
needles,
might have done.
and that could be what some of this is. This is a sun scorch. Whether it got water on it or not, I don't know, but it is a sun
I think
scorch.
I might have watered it while it was really hot. The leaves.
But anyway.